This is Football Night in America, served by Applebee's.
All right, welcome in. 1 week of Sunday games in the books. Did it feel different to you, Tony?
It felt a little different because I didn't know anything about these teams. You think you know them, but we hadn't seen any preseason, hadn't seen any of the rookies play, so it was great to get a feel for how this is going to look.
Yeah, Rodney, what was it like for you as we watched the games with no fans and guys in different places? What was it like?
Mike, it was really weird because I'm so used to looking in the stands and seeing 60, 70,000 people. And even after the game, I texted a couple players and I asked them, I said, how did it feel not being able to play in front of fans? And they said, you know what? Initially, it felt kind of weird, but as the game went on, we were okay.
That's pretty interesting. Mike Florio, what's your headline takeaway from week one?
Well, look, it really is a different kind of a year. And it's strange because you'll get a shot of the action on the field and it looks normal.
Right.
But then every other shot looks anything but normal. And it's impossible to put that jigsaw puzzle together in our brains. And I think it's going to feel weird all year long. And hopefully, Mike, as you said during the show tonight, we'll get to a point where health concerns will allow more fans to get to these games so it can start to look normal again.
The one that was the oddest to me was the Superdome. Here comes Tom Brady, and I just expect this big reaction, right? And it was quiet. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman were just like speaking to each other.
And that's what I noticed as a defensive coach. You know, you're used to these quarterbacks going into the domes and having to use silent count and the tackles not being able to hear and it really impacting the passing game. Aaron Rodgers goes into Minnesota. He lights it up with no pressure on him. Russell Wilson goes into Atlanta, lights it up with not a lot of pressure on him. And as you mentioned, Tom Brady's just calling the signals, using hard counts. You never would see that in those three domes, those loud places to play.
All right, Rods, that's headline one for you. What'd you think of Brady, first off?
Well, I listened to what Brady said this week, and he never said he felt comfortable. He said, hey, I'm still trying to work through some things. I'm still trying to learn some of the checks and adjustments of the offense. So the fact that he threw 2 interceptions, it surprised me, but yet it didn't surprise me. And everyone's talking about Super Bowl, and Coach, they don't understand that it takes time to continue to build chemistry. You just can't put a bunch of great group of guys together just because they've had success in the past. It takes time to build that chemistry and that continuity.
No question about it. And going against Tom so often over the years, that's what always used to drive me nuts, just the precision he had with his guys and putting the ball right on the money, knowing when they were going to make their breaks, knowing how they were going to read certain coverages. He doesn't have that yet, and we can't expect him to have it week one without a real offseason program and no preseason games. They're going to be better, but you're right. We need to slow down the Super Bowl train a little bit.
And I tell you this, Mike, I've been around Brady, and, you know, he absolutely hates throwing interceptions. You looked at what happened to Tampa Bay last year with Jameis Winston throwing 30-plus interceptions.
Right.
You know that's going to be on Tom Brady's mind. So I expect a drastic improvement next week.
Mike Florio, what's your takeaway from that Saints-Bucs game?
Well, I think the pattern that we saw there is similar to what we saw with other games. The teams that have continuity were in a lot better position to hit the ground running and pick up where they left off. The teams with new pieces, whether it's a new quarterback, a new coach, new whatever, it took them a little more time. Not that it was impossible, but it seems like all in all, the teams that were picking up where they left off last year were in a better position to prevail and to do the things they want to do without a month or so to get up to speed.
And, Mike, I want to come back to you on the Brady replacement. No one replaces Tom Brady. I keep stumbling over that because my mind is saying don't say those words together. But Cam Newton, you said and told us during the week on Thursday night, you know, Cam's just really connected with that locker room. And you could see it, the touchdowns he scored. David Andrews, the center who was out last year, he gave him the ball. Cam gave you a Gronk spike. Andrews gave you a Gronk spike. It looked like a real good connection and a good fit right in New England, Mike, at the start of the season.
Yeah, it was 2015 all over again when Cam ended up being the NFL MVP. Healthy and effective. But, you know, here's the caveat. A lot of times you saw bodies swarming all over Cam, and he looks indestructible because he is so large and he is so strong. But we know from history that sooner or later that's going to cause a problem for him. And that was my concern. I was hoping that he would be contacted less now that he's healthy for the first time in a couple of years, because at some point that is something that I think could be an issue for the Patriots and for Cam.
And they're doing what he does. And you knew Bill Belichick was going to do that. What does Cam Newton do well? That's what I'm going to put in my offense. That's what I'm going to utilize. 15 runs today. Can that be sustained over the full season? We'll have to see.
Absolutely not. You're not going to be able to run. Coming off all those injuries, yeah, it feels good now because this is his first time really being hit in live action. But, I mean, you cannot expect Cam Newton to run the ball 15 times a game. So eventually they're going to have to, open up the offense a little bit and let him kind of take control with his arm.
15 of 19 passing, but not a lot of downfield stuff. Rodney, I want to come back to you on the Patriots defense because we know Hightower's not there. There were several personnel changes, whether guys left or guys opted out for the season. New England kept Miami to 11 points, and Miami's offense was rolling the end of last year. Is that a struggle for Miami, or is that New England's defense is going to be pretty good in your mind?
I think a little bit of both. I'm going to hold off. I don't think New England's going to have a top 5 defense like they had last year. Mm-hmm. The strength of their defense is obviously their secondary. They do a great job of being able to lock up guys, play man-to-man, put that extra guy in the box for the run. But they're going to see a lot more better offenses than the Miami Dolphins. So we'll see, Mike. It's still early in the season.
I am really excited for the Sunday night game. New England, Seattle, one of those weird matchups. But all of a sudden, Tony, there's a lot of intrigue in that matchup.
No, there really is. And to me, it's how these defenses are going to deal with the quarterback they're going to face. Seattle's got to go to the drawing board. How do we handle what we saw from Cam Newton the first week? And now the same thing, Bill Belichick. He's great at taking away what you do best. But Russell Wilson, it's so much improv and things outside the script. So those guys are going to be stressed a little bit on the back end to cover for a longer time.
Mike Florio, if you're in Houston, you know that there are big contracts with Laramie Tunsil, the left tackle, and J.J. Watt, and obviously Deshaun Watson gets taken care of. They couldn't get DeAndre Hopkins in all that cap stuff for the big deal, et cetera. It had to hurt. But then you watch the game, and Kyler Murray targets DeAndre Hopkins 16 times. He caught 14 balls, more than Larry Fitzgerald's ever caught in a game for Arizona. And that was like a wow to me. Tony and I were thinking there was going to be a perfect fit out there, and it looked terrific here week 1 for the Cardinals.
Yeah, the one thing that Cliff Kingsbury, the coach of the Cardinals, needs to work on Kyler Murray to avoid is letting DeAndre Hopkins become that crutch, as Chris Sims has said. You don't want Murray to only look at Hopkins or to force it to Hopkins or to wait too long for Hopkins to come open. Still spread the ball around to the guy who is open, and that would be my concern. You have a go-to guy, you go to him too often, and it hurts the offense. And at some level, the Texans were concerned about that. They want Deshaun Watson to grow and develop. And, it's hard to make that argument he's going to grow and develop without DeAndre Hopkins when we see him play like he did today.
Hey, Mike Florio, I remember. Excuse me.
Go, Rods.
Hey, Florio, I remember I was on your show maybe a week ago, and I was talking about the Arizona Cardinals defense, and Chris Sims, completely, oh, no, their defense is terrible. But if you look at them, they have the foundation for a good defense. They have a really good young safety in Budda Baker. They have Patrick Peterson, Jordan Hicks, linebacker, Chandler Jones, and they did an outstanding job today, as well as Isaiah Simmons, their number 1 pick. But I thought they did a really good job today. And Kyler Murray, I keep telling people, he is going to be an all-pro. Look for him to take over that division.
Yeah, San Francisco wide receivers only caught 2 balls today. That secondary locked them down very well.
And on top of what Rodney was talking about, Kyler Murray had 100 yards rushing. He took some knees at the end of the game as they were running out the clock, so it went back under 100 to 91. But you throw for, 230 yards, and then you have nearly a 100-yard rushing game. Just beware of Arizona in a terrific division because San Francisco's still good, and obviously you got the Rams and the Seahawks.
And you know what?
Hey, Mike.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
2018, it was Patrick Mahomes in his second year, took the NFL by storm. 2019, it was Lamar Jackson. His second year took the NFL by storm. Sims and I have been saying it all offseason, and what a way to plant the flag in the ground to go to San Francisco and beat them. It's a big deal. We were so caught up in Bucs Saints. I think we've yet to really appreciate what the Cardinals have accomplished here. They went into the 49ers building and kicked their butts right out of the gates. Yep. And I think that's a harbinger of things to come for the 49ers, and it's good things to come for the Cardinals.
I agree.
And you look at the San Francisco 49ers, their offense never really truly got into rhythm. I mean, they're about running the ball, being physical, controlling the line of scrimmage, Mike, and they didn't do that. They just didn't control the line of scrimmage.
That's what you were going to say, Tony.
Yeah, no doubt about it. San Francisco, we joke about the loser of the Super Bowl and the funk, and you say it's not going to happen. But they looked off to me today, too, Rodney. I just didn't like their being in sync.
Well, Rodney, you know what you've missed for the last 33 Sundays, but it's back. It made it through all the difficult times that we've had. The speed round.
What you're? Oh,
The speed round.
I thought you were talking about coach's sarcasm.
That too, but the speed round. We didn't even bring music for the speed round. Maybe we did. I don't know. But the speed round is we brought music.
There we go.
Speed round music is back. Absolutely. Maybe we can put out a list and you can download the speed round music for the year. Aaron Rodgers Day. This is word association. So Rodney, I'm going to start with you. Aaron Rodgers Day. Describe it.
Inspiring.
Florio?
Is fish in a barrel one word? Because he was shooting fish in a barrel all day long.
It could be
hyphens.
a
lot of hyphens.
Yeah. If it's like a really cool, hip Instagram address, you could do, fish in a barrel all in one word.
I'm going to say retro because it looked like about 5 years ago where he was just in rhythm.
A-Rodian. Russell Wilson's Day in a word or two. Rodney?
Easy. He looked easy. I mean,
It's good.
It just looked so smooth. He dropped back, he throw the ball, he hands it off, he does whatever he wants. It just looked real easy.
Yeah, look at those numbers, too. Florio?
Hashtag let Russ cook. They were talking about it all week. He's been talking about it all offseason. I'm telling you, behind the scenes, Russell Wilson has been urging this coaching staff to let him show what he can do. He's every bit as good as the other great quarterbacks in the NFL. Let him go show it, and they are, and that's smart because eventually he's going to want to go somewhere else and play for a team that lets him show it. If the Seahawks let him show it, he'll be there for a long time.
Stop with that talk. He is not going. He is so entrenched in Seattle.
Thank you,
he
Coach.
is not going anywhere. I'm going to say casual. It was a casual 31 for 35, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Just as Rodney said, easy. It didn't look like he was ever rattled. It was just great to see.
To you next on the reigning MVP, Lamar Jackson.
Impressive. I wanted to see the league would catch up with this. Last year, opening day, we saw guys running wide open, easy throws. Now, they understood how to play this defense a little bit better against him. There weren't wide open throws. He was putting the ball on the money, great ball placement, so poised. He was the most impressive quarterback today to me to see that improvement.
Rodney?
Coach, I totally agree. I look at what he did, and he was dropping back. He was scanning the field. He was going through his reads. He was spreading the ball around. It wasn't just Mark Andrews, even though he had a big game, but just spreading the ball around and just the comfort level throwing the ball down the field. And everyone talked about if he can consistently throw the ball down the field like that, then he can win a Super Bowl. And it looks like over the summer, over in the offseason, he improved.
Mike?
The key word's growth. I talked to John Harbaugh, the coach of the Ravens, after the game, and he said he's seen that growth in Lamar Jackson in camp, and he saw it today. This is a guy who started, as of today, his 23rd regular season game of his career. These young quarterbacks, the more defenses they see, the more experience they get, they're going to keep getting better, which is scary for the rest of the NFL, and we saw it today from Jackson.
All these quarterback run numbers combined with good passing numbers, high completion percentage. I know it's week one, defense is adjusting, all that other stuff. But to Florio's point, if the guys can stay healthy, and a lot of them have followed the Russell Wilson mode of being smarter runners, getting out of bounds, sliding, using the protections, this could be a terrific offensive year, and watch the growth at that position. Two more quickly. Phillip Rivers, Tony.
Frustrating. You saw them get off to the great start. Boy, he looked like he was on target, but then just the mistakes at the wrong time, not being able to punch the ball in. That was a game the Colts should have won, didn't win it. It's got to be frustrating.
Rodney?
He looked old, and somebody from the Colts organization told me, hey, Phillip's going to do well this year. He's behind one of the best offensive lines, if not the best offensive line in all of football. They went out and got him weapons, and he still looked like the Phillip Rivers that was in Los Angeles, forcing the ball, trying to do everything himself.
Mike?
Not surprising. That was my reaction. I've been saying for weeks now, I have this memory seared into my brain of Phillip Rivers throwing 7 interceptions in back-to-back primetime games, and he's got to push that memory out and replace it with something else, and he didn't do it today.
Yeah, Charger-like. It felt like the Rivers game against the Chargers
That's
there.
Good work.
As we saw. Okay, lastly, Joe Burrow's day, 23 of 36, 8 runs for 46 yards, and you could make a good case that wasn't a push-off on A.J. Green at the end of the game. That would have been the game-winning touchdown. But his arms were extended, probably the right call. What'd you think of Burrow?
I'm going glass half full. I loved Joe Burrow. I loved his poise. I loved to see his teammates rally around him. And the last drive, when they needed him to take it down, he did his part. He took them down the field to the end zone.
Right, we were on with the show, and we're watching the monitor, and here he is in the 2-minute drill. He's doing this. He's signaling plays to guys. He had complete command and control. He had a rushing touchdown earlier as well. Rodney, what'd you think of Burrow?
Mike, that point that you just made, he had total control. You think about a rookie. Most rookie quarterbacks come in and they're just trying to fit in, not step on toes. This guy, with his humility and his leadership, he stepped right in and he took control. And also, you saw him scramble on a couple plays, man. Just the athleticism, the smooth movement. I think Cincinnati knocked it out the park. He's going to be a great one.
Mike?
It's just Cincinnati. I mean, you see how that game ended, right? The missed field goal that would have forced overtime. I can't help but think of the late, great Gordon Jump, the line from WKRP in Cincinnati after they dropped turkeys out of the helicopter. As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly. Welcome to Cincinnati, where they think turkeys can fly and they think footballs
Do you believe in them,
don't
Mike?
go off uprights. He's going to have to do a lot on his own. He needs a lot of help around him because he's got years of stuff that he's got to reverse.
But it is Cincinnati.
He needs a kicker. He needs a kicker.
Who was the DJ on WKRP in Cincinnati? Dr. Johnny Fever.
Johnny Fever.
Dr. Johnny Fever. If you had Dr. Johnny Fever in your over-under pool for the first edition of our wrap-up, you need a life. We'll be back next week. We can't wait. See you, Rods. See you, Florio. And by the way, that was Sim's best segment, as usual. It's the best Chris is all week. We'll see you. Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.